The trees talk, but tonight they told me to come inside. Okay, just picture that. You're completely alone in a remote cabin, miles from literally anyone, pouring rain, hammering the roof, and a total stranger drops that exact line on you. Sends a massive shiver right down your spine, doesn't it? It's one of those statements that instantly shatters any illusion of safety, throwing us headfirst into the terrifying unknown. So, welcome to this explainer on The Hitchhiker, a psychological breakdown. We're going to peel back the layers of this incredibly twisting mystery and see exactly how the very fabric of reality just completely unravels. Let's get right into it. The whole thing kicks off with this deep, unsettling vulnerability. We meet Jim Latimer. He's an older guy out hunting completely solo on the rugged western edge of Dumas County. Now, usually his lifelong buddy, Simon Hall, is right there with him, but Simon's grounded due to a severe lung disorder. And honestly, psychologically speaking, extreme isolation can start playing major tricks on your mind in a matter of hours. It is the perfect setup for a guy who's not only physically isolated, but totally defenseless against the unexpected. Which brings us to this wild reality. 3 full days of absolute, uninterrupted solitude. Think about the mental toll of that. For 72 straight hours, Jim hasn't heard a single human voice or seen another soul. Over decades of coming out to this spot, no one has ever just shown up at his door. Then, late on that third night, right in the middle of a freezing downpour, a heavy knock rattles the wooden door. It's a sound that literally shouldn't be happening. Now, consider the stark contrast between the two men suddenly crammed into this tiny space. On one hand, you've got Jim. Naturally suspicious, he's actually gripping his rifle when he opens the door. But, his basic humanity wins out, and he invites this freezing stranger inside for some coffee. And on the other hand, well, we have Jasper Evans. Guys, Jasper is essentially a giant red flag walking on 2 legs. He's disheveled, totally erratic, his eyes darting all over the place. One second, he's vibrating with manic energy, and the next, just a dead, vacant stare. As they sit across from each other, the tension is just suffocating. And that tension absolutely snaps when we hit this number, 20. Jim tries to play it cool, casually asking if the guy's lost. Jasper shoots back this jagged little smile and says he isn't lost at all. Actually, he claims he's been living out in these brutal woods for 20 years. 20 years. And that's when he drops that chilling line about the trees talking to him, telling him to come inside. The sheer wildness of that claim immediately tells Jim, okay, I need to get this guy out of my cabin, like right now. But here's the crazy part, how incredibly fast everything goes sideways. It breaks down into 3 lightning-fast steps. Step 1, Jim tries to de-escalate, offering Jasper one last cup of coffee before sending him packing. Step 2, Jim makes a fatal tactical error. He turns his back to the stove to grab the pot. And step 3, before Jim even registers a sound, a massive, crushing blow strikes the back of his skull. In a fraction of a second, his world explodes into a flash of white heat, and then, just pitch black. So imagine waking up on an icy wooden floor. Your head is absolutely throbbing with this blinding ache, hair matted with blood. But the physical pain, that is nothing compared to the psychological nightmare that kicks in next. He wakes up entirely detached from reality. He knows he's in a cabin, sure, but no idea why. He digs into his own mind, searching for anything, but it's just empty space. No past, no purpose. He literally doesn't even know his own name. Staggering outside into the daylight, our amnesiac basically becomes a detective at his own crime scene, and this really highlights the immediate stakes. Think about the clues left behind. The driveway is completely empty. No car, no truck. The only things left are these deep tire tracks pressed aggressively into the fresh mud. So Jasper didn't just assault him. Jasper stole his only way out, leaving a severely injured man stranded out in the middle of nowhere. Let's map out the sheer physical toll here, because this timeline is a brutal endurance test. We start with the 3 days of isolation at the cabin. Then an unknown chunk of time, maybe hours, maybe days, just lying unconscious on the floor. And finally, running on pure primal survival instinct, our guy endures 2 grueling days of hiking through thick brush and rough logging roads. It's a desperate march that eventually spits him out onto a 2-lane asphalt highway. Exhausted, shivering, he manages to hitch a quick ride to a little crossroads country store. He's digging around in his heavy coat and, huge relief, finds a wad of $20 bills. But the real gut punch happens when he walks into the brightly lit store. The tired clerk behind the counter literally gasps. She takes one look at his bruised, bloody face and says,
"Mister, you look like you've seen a ghost, or became one." Now, it sounds like a casual, folksy thing to say, right? But in this context, it's a brilliant piece of eerie foreshadowing that just hangs heavily in the air.
Okay, stepping back outside, he sits by a rusted newspaper rack, and a bold local headline basically screams at him through the glass. Let's put on our investigator hats for a second and deduce what the police report facts are telling us. The victim, James T. Latimer. The event? A horrific crash where a pickup truck flew off the road, slammed into a massive oak tree at high speed, and burst into flames. The body? A charred, unrecognizable mass of flesh and ash. And here is where we get this incredible identity swap. The man with the head wound reads the name James T. Latimer, and it feels kind of familiar, like a song where you forgot the lyrics. But he feels zero grief, just a strange, hollow void. If James is supposedly dead in the truck, and our guy's sitting right there reading about it, well, simple logic tells us what happened. In a massive twist of dark irony, erratic Jasper stole Jim's truck to get away, only to immediately crash it and burn beyond recognition. The whole world thinks Jim is dead. So, sitting on that bench, possessing no identity, no past, and a pounding headache, our hitchhiker decides he needs to find a city, maybe a hospital. He sticks his thumb out again. Within 30 minutes, a new car glides over. It's a spotless, unusually quiet sedan. The driver? An older gentleman in this crisp, formal suit that feels incredibly out of place on a dusty rural highway. He introduces himself in a smooth, calm voice as Ted. Ted has this comforting smile, but his eyes, they are intense. In fact, they never seem to blink. Settling into the passenger seat, Ted politely asks him where he's headed. And our protagonist tries so desperately to introduce himself. He's searching that empty void in his brain, looking for any anchor. Finally, one single word bubbles up from his subconscious. He says, "And by the way, my name is, Simon." He has no clue why he picked that name, but we do. Simon was his grounded, lifelong friend from the very start of the story. With his own identity gone, his broken mind just grabs the last familiar thing left in its depths. As the car cruises down that lonely highway, things start getting really surreal. Notice Ted's overly formal suit. It's almost like he's dressed for a funeral, right? Notice those unblinking eyes and that eerie sense of calm. The car itself is just perfectly, unsettlingly quiet. They're driving steadily toward this undefined horizon. And then Simon glances down at the dashboard. The digital clock on the radio, it isn't ticking. The numbers are completely frozen. Which brings us to the final, most chilling question of all. Simon is sitting there in this silent car, staring at a stopped clock, quietly wondering to himself, can time actually stop? Think about it. We know Jim Latimer took a catastrophic blow to the head. We know he's been wandering in a fog, detached from his body, literally told by a stranger he looks like a ghost. So, as Ted drives him smoothly toward the horizon in a place where time itself has ceased to exist, where is our hitchhiker really going? Is this just a ride to the next town? Or is this his final departure into whatever comes next? I'll leave you to think about that.